It's not a bad place to work. It's got a lot of nice views, and if you are having a bad day, you really just have to step out of whatever you're doing and take a deep breath and look around, and you do feel better. So the whole property is surrounded by a forest. We have over 200 acres of forest, and the forest all burned, and then the 35 acres of grapes and buildings and roads were all protected by the defensible space that the vineyard created for us. And so everything burned but the developed spots. So we're really lucky. Watching the way the forest has come back has been very renewing. The forest is really happy after the burn. The forest floor has got plants we've never seen before and flowers we haven't seen in years, and it got rid of all the underbrush. So the forest is happy, and we're really fortunate to be able to farm the grapes that went through or the plants that went through the fires last year, because the plants are just fine, and so we're excited that we get to do it again. We're really looking forward to this harvest, and we're right on the verge of harvest now. We're above the fog line, so we have not been sucked in like the valley floor has for about the last week, and so we just did some bricks levels, and we raised about a point in the last week, so we're hoping for another point in the next week, and then we'll start harvesting right around October 1st, we hope. This harvest should be good. I'm not going to say it's early. I'm not even going to say it's late. I mean, compared to the last couple of years, it seems late, but really we're kind of feeling normal again after a couple funny years. So we are on Mount Veeder. We're probably on the southern end of Mount Veeder for the most part. Just north of here is where the point of Mount Veeder is. And we're actually on Redwood Road as opposed to Mount Veeder Road that kind of runs up south to north up the ridge of Mount Veeder. So we kind of veer off heading west towards Sonoma. We are sitting in Napa County, yes. The property was originally a vineyard back before Prohibition. The vines were originally put in 1881. Wow. The original winery on the property was established in 1883 with the name Castle Rock Vineyard, and that was the wine label that the Strike family started, and they owned the property, according to the records that I've read, from 1880 to 1920. And they grew grapes here and made wine here and distributed it mostly in San Francisco and Chicago. And so the house that we're sitting in was built in 1902, and it's an old Victorian that was built by the Strikes. They sold it, so Prohibition was 1921, right, and they sold it in 1920. And then the property switched hands a few times in the 20s and the 30s, and then my great-grandfather bought it in 1950.
Smart buy.
It was a smart buy. We're really fortunate that he wanted a piece of little winemaking history, and he wanted to put the new vines in and be a grape grower, and so that's what he got to do. 34 acres of actual planted vines. And then with the structures, it all kind of adds up to 35 acres of non-forest area. We have always had this property in our family since great-grandfather bought it. But this is more the glue that keeps our large family together. My dad has 5 siblings, and so they have memories of this place. And then the 6 of them total had 16 of us. I'm the oldest grandchild. And we all have memories of this property because this is like the kind of the one constant. So the Thanksgivings and the Christmases and the summers, and it's kind of nice to have a large family, to have a spot like this that's been kind of carried over, which I'm 4th generation. So I didn't grow up here. I never lived in this house, but I've been staying in this house for vacations and such since I was 6 weeks old. There's a lot of wildlife up here.
So what kind of wildlife are you talking about?
We have, the skunks and the raccoons and the squirrels, the typical ones. And then we've got bobcats, and we've got mountain lions, and we do have bears. There's been some night cameras at the end of Redwood Road that have caught a bear on the property, and then we also had we caught one on some night cameras up in our property, all within the last year and a half. And then we also have bats. We currently have bats living in the old ghost winery.
Oh, no.
They're wreaking a little bit of havoc, but it's a sign of a good ecosystem.
It is. You're right.
So, and
There's
we
bugs
think,
to be eaten.
yeah, and we think they've been misplaced since the fire, and so they're just kind of making a home. And it's not an abandoned building, but it's definitely not one that's not very occupied very often. So that's where they're living. I started working here in the summer of 2003. So if my math is correct, I think this will be my 16th harvest.
There you go.
Yeah. And so I've been working for my dad since then. And that first harvest, I just needed a job. So I worked in the office filing paper. And when harvest came along, he said, okay, well, instead of getting here, at 8 a.m., I'm going to need you here at 6. And then got here at 6, and he taught me how to drive the tractor that harvest. And that's kind of an all hands on deck time.
Yeah.
And I haven't missed one yet. I don't do any traveling in October. I've had October booked for the last 16 years, and I hope to have October booked for the next 16 years.
Well, it's special.